of change, but on multi levels. You know, we're talking about having children think about, you know, like what they're putting in the garbage, or what they're saying or what they're thinking, and having them question that. I mean, we a lot of us, we don't realize that it doesn't take very long for that child to become a teenager, to become a rebel and sit here and say we need change. It takes like 5-10 years, and then by that time you have the 100 monkey syndrome that's going on, and you've got more than just one. You have hundreds and thousands of these children, and they're becoming young adults, and by this time you have the 100 monkey syndrome happening, and you've got you know, like you've got change. That's why we're sitting here, is because sisters like this come out and they say we need to have change. She talks about what kind of change needs to happen. We all think about it. We start talking to our young people. We start to share it, and it's passing it forward. It's it's sharing, it's listening, it's having the openness to be able to listen to the sister and to see what needs to be done, to see and question and go through within our own minds and our hearts, how can we make the difference by the thought and in a peaceful manner. But you know, like as she says, it's going to yoga, it's smiling, it's giving love, it is learning how to be of peace, you know, and to see, no, we don't need to have that second phone, you know, in the house. We can deal with the one that we are. And when we're going to buy our phone, we'll say, hey, I want a phone that lasts 5 to 10 years. Like my phone is 10 years old and I don't need to have another one. And if the company can't supply it, I'll go somewhere else. If I can't get a warranty on my dryer for 10 years, I'm not going to go for something for 3 years. I'll pay the extra $100, extra $200. I'll wait that extra month and go to the laundromat until I can afford to have one that'll last me 10 years or 15. Mine is 45 years old and I'm still using it. I fix it, you know, or I have the guy come in once every 10 years and change the belt, right? It's going and it's buying a coat that is secondhand because you're not wasting the earth, you know, on that. So somebody's used it for 5 years but only worn it 3 times. Now I can go and, you know, and use it for the next 10 or 20 years, and we haven't wasted the earth on any more. It's,
She has some comment, maybe? No, you can't see anyway. It's black.
Go white out your eyes.
There's absolutely no visual on here. It'll be
Yeah.
just audio. Just your voice will be heard.
The cameras die at night without lights.
I just have a thought about decolonization, and it has something, I think, to do with race. I think it's a European way of thinking, although I think many cultures are familiar with it, and it has to do with relationship. And the relationship can be on a one-to-one, it can be within a group, it can be between groups. And what I see happening over and over again is that we react and live and breathe by the power over model, whether that's between people, whether that's between groups. We don't realize that we have more than this binary choice of I have power over you or you have power over me. It's not that. That's a false dichotomy. We can choose to have power with each other together and leave that model, just throw it away. It's terribly destructive.
It's absolutely a product of colonization, that model, and I completely agree.
I really like what you had to say about the fact that we all need to decolonize ourselves, because I think that the system that was put in place with Indigenous people has managed to be perpetuated in other immigrant population where they just reintroduced new rules about English requirements for people wanting to become citizens of Canada. People with mental illnesses or disabilities have been so dispossessed. I went to see someone speak on Sunday about disability, and he said, well, what do? We just put them all together and say, okay, spend time with people who have mental illnesses or disabilities only. And we put people who are immigrants together and say, okay, spend time with immigrants. But we all need to spend time with each other. We need to get to know each other and get to know people who are not from the same background as us, or the same faith, or the same race. Because it's not an us and them dichotomy, it's we. And in some way we all reap the regrets and the consequences of colonization. And we all have a duty to try and respond to that in a more positive way, and to look for similarities with people that are different, because we could all end up being dispossessed one day, and that people are here, I mean, in Northern here because we've been dispossessed in some way. And so it becomes very personal, and it's not those people that were colonized way back when, but it's us, and it's today, it's now.
That's brilliant. I love this group. And everything everyone's saying, I'm just like filled with joy hearing all this.
I just had a quick comment about like the language requirements for getting into Canada. Like I was watching that on the news. There always have been a language test in Canada, but they changed it to an oral test. And the main reason they do that is so that when people immigrate into Canada is so that they can communicate with the people that live here already and integrate themselves into our community. It's very difficult for people of another nationality to integrate themselves into Canadian culture if they can't communicate with the people around them. And the only reason they do that is so that people can communicate with them. It's very stressful, like, you know, if you're in a customer service position and you're trying to communicate with someone who can't properly speak English. Like, I don't think that means that they shouldn't come into our country or something like that. That's kind of ridiculous. But it is put in place so that people can communicate with us. So there should be courses before you even take an exam to come into our country. Though. Like,
Yeah.
they should.
He makes an excellent
That
point.
should be available to people so
It's-
that they can learn how to
Well,
speak with us.
it's exactly the colonization model of you have to integrate, you have to assimilate. There are over 100 indigenous languages in this country.
Yeah, that's true enough.
How many are spoken in schools?
I don't know any of it. Well, I know a couple of words
I
now.
only know English and
They
French.
know us. They know us. We don't know them.
I
And
understand
then we
that.
impose the same viewpoint on people coming in. No, you have to assimilate and come our way.
You know, I think I need to make a point about something. Today, we all did that march for Geraldine Beardy, and we all alienated that man who murdered her, right? But here's the thing. We have to look at it from his viewpoint, too, right? He's not exactly a person, like he was saying. Was he a man who's fully capable of communicating in the society that he lives in? No. And we alienated him. We all marched around there, and we put him in a position. We surrounded his very place of work and alienated him. How would we all feel tomorrow? Would we feel a justice if that man committed suicide out of how much we made him feel terrible for all of this? Like,
Deserves to feel terrible.
no, that's the thing though, man. You gotta be sympathetic to the fact that this man obviously suffering from some sort of mental illness, and justice is not death. Two deaths is not better. It's not going to solve the one. The fact, of course, his crime was brutal and merciless. It was terrible. It was terrible. Obviously, no one can deny that. But the fact is, where did his motives come from? You can't just say he was evil. You can't look at it like that. That's not accepting, and that's not a peaceful way of looking at it.
I'm not a peaceful person.
I would be. Fair enough. That's fair. But of course, you have to look at it. What would be better for this man? Killing him, putting him in jail, or getting him some help, so that he could still be a member of this society? I don't know. I don't think that's really fair.
I think it
You
should be
know,
in
I mean,
jail
like,
if you kill someone.
he lashed out and he made a big mistake.
May I?
That's jail.
I arrived late, so I'm not total, but you were talking about colonization. I'd like to point out to you all, for the whole last few months during the election, there was never any discussion of that power that's going to be sourced up in the north of Manitoba having any benefits for the people that live in Manitoba, which is to say, we in the south and our government treat the whole north as colonies and the people that live there as people people living in the colonies, and it's living and breathing today in our society. Why were they building this power line, the Bipole 3? To give it away to the United States, but there was never any discussion of any of the need in any of the political parties. No discussion of any of the needs of the North, the people of the North, or what could be done up in the North that the people up there would benefit from. Just one last thing. The result of the delivery of that electricity by Bipole 3 to the United States is estimated to have hundreds of billions of dollars of benefit to the northern United States that is going to be delivered to. Never ever did anybody discuss what could be the benefits to our northern Manitobans. Not once. You didn't hear one word anywhere. And that's colonization.
Well, the Green Party was talking about that and opposed Bipole 3.
The Green Party?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
they,
didn't come up with any ideas of what to do with it. Up there.
No, they said not
they
to
said
build
don't
it.
build it.
Yeah.
We don't need to build
That's the best idea.
Because
yeah,
it floods
you're right. I'm a Green
indigenous
Party
people's
member,
land.
but that's not dealing with what I was talking about. The Green Party didn't do any leadership in the whole concept either.
Our guest speaker's sister was going to say something on that.
There was just a couple points when people were talking about Christine Beardy. Like I agree that one of the things that I did not want this to become was, it's just a strange occurrence that I see happening in our community, is that if you're a visualized, racialized person, then there seems to be, I don't know, that there seems to be a reaction that they're the new enemies, that somehow they're the ones that are problems. And I just didn't want to see, because that man was racialized, Korean born, maybe Canadian, that there's a systemic problem that we're dealing with here. That the in terms of the level of poverty that our people are living in, that they have to go steal a can of Click. There is in terms of most shopkeepers persecute, like Walmart. They have security guards that persecute shoplifters. They don't beat them over the head with a bat or whatever happened. I'm just using that. They don't assault them for a can of Click. So something was, I'm not sure what was going on in that particular case. But Aboriginal people today are being jailed and being held over there because they're shoplifting. So what I think that their feeling of our community is that people seem to be able to get away with murder over whether that, what degree of that is a manslaughter or murder. I guess wasn't a premeditated. I'm not a lawyer, but the value of life is less than the value of stealing a material object, and that, I think, is what the feeling of outrage that some people in our community are feeling.
Well, you know what?
We know that our people are criminalized at the drop of a hat, and all the jails are full of our people, and some of them are for shoplifting. So how do you square that? Where is their justice? Even in their forms of justice, there is no justice.
At the same time, though, you have to look at the fact that the man who committed the crime was also of a visible minority.
Absolutely.
I saw him. I actually met him. I went into the shop today, and I actually saw the look in his eyes when we all showed up there. And you know what? I'm a little bit sympathetic to his situation, because I also suffer from mental illness and have done some things that I regret doing as a result of my situation and how I reacted to certain things. There are two shops very similar to the one that he actually owns, right across the street from my apartment on River Avenue. And when I'm dealing with those people that own them, they're actually Korean as well, very much the same. They have very much difficulty speaking English and communicating. And you know what? I guarantee that there are a lot of people not as sympathetic as myself.